Sleep is the best form of recovery, better than any red light therapy, cryotherapy, cryochambers, ice baths, saunas, or anything else that's considered like a hack or a biohack or a life hack. If you're doing all that other shit, but your sleep's not dialed in, then you're just wasting your time. You'll never recover properly. It's literally better to just have good sleep than any of that other shit. Because if your sleep is not dialed in, you're not going to be able to recover. With like, no matter how much red light therapy or cryotherapy or whatever you do, it won't help. And what if I told you the crazy thing is that everyone in the world and everyone you know might actually be sleeping wrong? And I'll tell you why in this video. This video is going to be a full detailed guide on sleep maxing for MMA specifically, but life as well. This is going to be more catered for MMA and stuff like that. And I'll tell you basically what made me want to make this video and series in general. I actually realized, I had one day, it was just one day I had, once a week I dedicated to sleep. And it was just maximizing recovery. What I did is, I guess you could call it like a form of polyphasic sleep schedule, or that's the scientific term. And I didn't even realize it at the time, funny enough, about all this like terminology and all this stuff. But what I realized is, what I did is, and this is kind of by accident, I was just so drained from the week from training. Literally, all I did is just sleep the whole day. Morning, I slept. Evening, I slept. Afternoon, I slept. And early night, I slept. And I didn't care about, like, I mean, I did eat a little bit here and there, but I didn't really care too much about eating and, all that. All I did is it was just fully recover and sleep. And your body basically does a full reset of recovery if you do this, right? And it's like, I felt so energized the next day. Man, I don't think I ever felt so energized with anything else I tried. Redlight therapy, all that other stuff. So literally sleep is the most important thing, man. And if we're gonna go through basically how you can go through sleep, how you're able to do all that, and you can basically outperform anyone that's doing these half-baked hacks, which is what most people are doing. Even Khabib, if you look at one of his videos, he talks about the importance of sleep and how basically that's the best form of recovery, even for him. Like he literally talks about how he will not miss out on sleep. There's a very good video on that. I recommend people checking it out. And even Kobe Bryant. I know this is basketball, but it's still related to athletics. And even he said that he regretted, like, because he was really known for his grind and stuff like that. And he would be in the gym all day and all that, and basically missed out on sleep. And he regretted it so much that later in his career started sleeping and taking care of his body better. Even people like David Goggins, right? Who's like, you know, obviously pretty famous, known for his marathon runs. Even he talks about the importance of sleep. Even him, with his whole grind mindset attitude, talks about sleep, the importance of sleep. So you cannot mess this up, man. I mean, there's just way too many downfalls of having bad sleep. Lower testosterone, right? It messes with your libido, right? Your eyes get worse, right? Right? You're actually more likely to become like basically, I don't want to say blind, but yeah, your eyesight becomes way worse. And I would not be surprised if this is why maybe, people have glasses and stuff like that. Right. And this is what you need to do. You need to maximize on sleep as much as you can. Right. Especially since you're probably watching this and most people out there have like poor sleep. You're probably not one of the few people that sleeps more than necessary. Right. You're probably one of the few, most of the people that sleeps not that much. And I remember like so many people have copes about like having bad sleep that it's just ridiculous. I remember one time at the gym, it was like the dumbest thing I ever heard. But it was like, oh, there's this such and such fighter. He used to train at night. It's like, okay, but that's still not good. You know what I mean? That's still not good. That's terrible, right? And again, I guess you could argue that if you can't go to sleep, which we're gonna discuss why maybe you can't go to sleep, right? What the problem is probably is that it's your circadian rhythm, right? Which is basically just your internal like body clock, right? It tells your body when to sleep, when to wake up, releases hormone, digests food, all that stuff. And it's best basically aligned with sunlight and darkness. There's no such thing as night owls. I hate to tell you this, there's no such thing. Like humans are just not meant to be night owls. Like I'm just being honest. Like people can cope and say, like I used to be the guy who used to, stay up late. Like I would consider myself a night owl before, but it's not real, right? That's just psyop. Like anyone that says that is just psyop, right? And unfortunately, what happens is when you miss out on sleep, you build up like basically sleep depth. Like kind of like at the bank, you get a loan, just debt involved with it. This is a million times worse than that because in theory you could pay it off, but it will take you forever. With this, it's very hard to really pay it off, and you can never really pay it off. It's very hard because like one bad sleep can mess up a whole week. It's just absurd. So literally the only thing you can do to try and fix this is by actually sleeping more and making your sleeping schedule way better, right? So I'm gonna tell you what is the best position to sleep. The best position to sleep. But before that, I should tell you what's the worst position. Whatever you do, never sleep on your stomach. Never sleep on your stomach, right? Because when you sleep on your stomach, you know what happens? There's so many problems that happen. You get neck misalignment, nerve compression, right? And your breathing becomes worse, right? You get chronic neck pain, pinched nerves. You get reduced mobility, and there's even possibility of a disc issue, like disc issues probably. So if you already have like disc issues from your lower back and whatnot, it's going to become even worse if you sleep on your stomach. And there's actually a study that found that people who were sleeping on their like basically face and their stomach, they had way more risks, misalignment, acid joints and vertebral discs and stuff like that. On top of that, spinal curve destruction, which is basically just, destroying your lower back. Sleeping face down flattens the natural lumbar curve, right? So when you're sleeping, this is basically what happens, right, to your lower back. And it's curving down like that, and it compresses the lower spine. It overstretches it, spinal ligaments, and compresses spinal discs. And obviously, what that leads to: tight hip flexors, weak glutes, an anterior pelvic tilt where your pelvic pelvis is basically just tilted forward a lot, right? Too much, right? And of course, lower back pain. Not to mention the other problems that it has with your organs, compressed organs and restricted breathing. That's probably one of the worst things. Lying flat on your stomach, obviously, it puts a lot of pressure on your stomach, on your liver, your intestines, your diaphragm. And the problem is a lot of it can, especially if you ate right before sleep, and even if you didn't, but it can mess with your digestion. It can give you acid reflux. It results in shallow breathing, and it gives you less oxygen to the muscles during sleep. So it actually hurts your recovery if you sleep on your stomach. So let's say you worked out. You're probably gonna wake up a lot more sore than you would have if you just slept not on your stomach. And sleeping on your stomach is just absolutely insane and the worst thing ever. Not to mention on your face, facial pressure, and it's gonna age your skin a lot worse and make your skin like worse. And MMA obviously, if your skin becomes worse, you're way more likely to get cuts and injured, right? And abrasions and whatnot. Especially during a fight, your fights could be stopped just because of this. So because now you started bleeding too much. Because there's no durability. Because of what happens is when you sleep on obviously your face and your stomach, there's constant pressure on your face. This leads to wrinkles and face lines, and asymmetrical facial structure as well over time, and lymphatic drainage or restricted lymphatic like buildup, basically. That's what you're gonna have. Like puffy face. Basically, what's gonna happen. On top of that, when you sleep on your stomach, it disrupts your parasympathetic nervous system. And this parasympathetic nervous system is basically very important when we talk about deep sleep, which we're going to get into. And deep sleep basically relies on parasympathetic activation, which is basically just rest and digest. So sleeping, what it does is it kind of stimulates like a fight or flight response in your system, and it's basically puts all this tension on you. Right, there's pressure on your abdomen, increased cortisol from the sleep discomfort. Right, cortisol being the stress, basically the stress hormone. Right, and it inhibits the vagus nervous activity. Right, which is basically just the nervous system, the vagus nerve. And this weakens your recovery, mental clarity, testosterone levels, and immune function. Right? Now, obviously, I told you, well, that's like the worst thing that can happen. So, blue rings. What's the best way to sleep? Like, should I sleep on my back? Should I sleep on my right side, left side? What's the best? I'll tell you scientifically what is the best, and even ancestrally what people used to do in the past as well, right? Because a lot of the times our ancestors, and not to sound like not to sound like a shaman or anything like that, but like they had it figured out before these lab rats and scientists had, and it's just eventually the scientists catch up. So the best way to sleep, actually, believe it or not, is on your right side. This is my right. I don't know, right? Point is, sleeping on your right side is actually the best, and the reason why this is because so your heart is located. It's actually technically in the center. It's just tilted to the left. So it's slightly to the left, a little bit more, slightly. And the thing with the heart is that when you sleep on the right side, it reduces pressure on the heart and aids in something called a venous return, which is basically just blood returning to the heart. Right? Obviously, very important. And there was actually a study that they found that patients with heart failure naturally avoided sleeping on their left side and slept on the right side because when they slept on the right side, it caused discomfort and worsened symptoms over time. Also, sleeping on your right side, what it actually does is it improves the lung function. Sleeping on the right side can ease the weight of the right lung. I mean, on the left lung, because the left lung is actually smaller. Believe it or not, the left lung is smaller, and because it has to share more space with the left side, but I mean with the heart. So that's why your left side of the lung is actually smaller than the right side. And your right side, because of this, will slightly be stronger because it is bigger because of that. So this helps breathing when you're sleeping. And for people with respiratory issues, right, sleeping on the right side is just so much better. Right, because it's going to improve your oxygenation. It's going to recover. It's going to improve your recovery during sleep. It's going to give you more mental clarity upon waking up. Right, and allows for better, deeper breathing when you're sleeping. And of course, right, when you're I shouldn't even have to say this, but when you sleep, keep your mouth closed, right? Keep your mouth closed and breathe through your nose, right? Right, breathe through your nose. And some people recommend mouth tape and all this. Funny enough, I used to be a mouth breather when I used to sleep. And I literally made a mental switch in my head and I said, no more. No more mouth breathing. Just, I'm going to just breathe through my nose. And the best way, now you're going to say, oh, but I know I have a hard time breathing through my nose. Right? Maybe you're one of those people, right? Maybe you have nasal problems or whatever. Start doing it in the day. This will help you, right? As you do this throughout the day, it's going to help you breathe through your night, through your um, through your nose at night as well. I mean, this was a side tangent, but breathing through your nose is very important, obviously, right? So, on top of sleep, okay, let's get back to sleeping on the right side. So, Sleeping on the right side, it obviously even enhances brain detoxification. The brain has like a lymphatic like system called the glymphatic system or glymphatic system, which basically clears out waste during sleep, especially during deep sleep. And actually, a study that showed that when sleeping on the right side position improved this glymphatic flow compared to sleeping on your back or your left side. And your brain, basically, what it does is it flushes out these toxins during night with this system. And obviously, this helps with mental recovery, memory consolidation, and of course, focus during, you know, fight IQ and all that. Right? It's going to give you better fight IQ. Right? When you have better focus, better fight IQ, and you'll become a lot more smarter. And what's also interesting is that um, when you sleep on your right side, it actually aids with digestion. So, obviously, like I said, I don't recommend eating right before you sleep. I'll discuss that in the video as we go on as to why. But even worst case scenario, you did eat, right? But if you sleep on your right side, it actually positions the stomach, right, in a way that below the esophagus, it reduces acid reflux in many people. And like the liver and the gallbladder are positioned on the right side, right? Your liver is actually on the right side, and so is your gallbladder. They're all positioned on that right side. So sleeping on the right side, it just encourages basically this something called a bioflow and liver detoxification, right? And right side sleeping basically supports the bioflow and liver detoxification and lymphatic clearance, right? So basically, you're also less likely to have digestive issues when you sleep on the right side. And it's going to enhance something called HGH, which is basically human growth hormone, which is very essential, and it gets released during sleep, and which obviously boosts your testosterone, right? And it reduces inflammation, and it builds for your athletic recovery, right? Which is obviously the most important. Now, you may be asking, maybe you struggle with sleeping on the right side for whatever reason. What if, you know, I started sleeping on the right side, or I just can't sleep on the right side? What if, um, what if I sleep on the left side, or if I sleep on my back? Obviously, you're trying to avoid sleeping on my stomach because that's the worst thing you can do, right? So, what should I do instead? So to that, I would say is, sleeping on the left side, or I mean, sleeping on your back, it's not the best. It's not ideal, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Sleeping on your left side, same thing. It's not ideal. It's not the worst thing in the world. Like if you're the type of person that sleeps on your right side and then you have to switch to the next side, build up the tolerance if you can, because again, it's gonna help you. Right? This type of thing, it's gonna help you. Right? At the end of the day, man, like your sleep is very important. And I'm basically telling you how to optimize on your sleep. And when you sleep on your right side, like, it's just so much better to sleep on your right side because of the way the body is just built. I understand some people may like to sleep on the left side a little bit more, on the back, but build up the tolerance to sleep on the right side. And it's something I've struggled with myself, right? But I do my best. If you can sleep majority of the time on the right side, that's the most ideal because, again, summarizing everything I said about the right side, it reduces cortisol, which is a stress hormone. It enhances melatonin and HGH, human growth hormone, and its production. It aligns the body in a natural fetal-like position, and it's obviously going to make the body feel more calm and safe, and that helps you sleep at night. And funny enough, many of these ancient cultures, right, and many indigenous cultures, and I believe even Islamically, it's actually you're supposed to sleep on your right side. So it's actually really interesting. You have a lot of these ancient people saying like, oh yeah, you should be sleeping on the right side. Maybe there's a reason why, right? And even when it comes to your other body organs, like your heart, it reduces the pressure on the heart and cardiac load. It makes it easier breathing because again, the lung on the right side is bigger than the left. Your brain detoxes better. Your liver detoxes better, and even your hormones are boosted, GH levels. Your sleep quality is so much better. It deepens sleeps and reduces stress, like I said, and even from a spiritual aspect, right? Many cultures, right, and religions that have that idea of sleeping on the right side, right? And maybe there's a reason why. Now, now that we've talked about sleeping, you know, like the best sleeping positions, the next thing we have to discuss is sleeping times, because obviously sleeping time is very important. So you definitely need to sleep, you know, during the night. Right? If you're like the guy who's like staying up at like 3 a.m., not sleeping, and just skipping out on sleep, terrible. And another thing is, I'm gonna say this: whatever you can, never work the night shift, the graveyard shift. Okay. And if you're working it right now, try to get your hours switched if you can. Because man, that is going to fuck up your health more than anything. The amount of money that you're getting paid is not enough for that. Just work regular, normal human hours. Like work the day, the afternoon, but never work super late at night. Nothing past 12, man. Nothing past 12, please. Even 12 is like, that's like bad enough, but right, nothing past 12. The best, longest you should ideally do is like 10, right? But at the same time, working earlier in the day or in midday is better because your circadian rhythm really needs to be dialed in. So I'm going to tell you how to do this from a monophasic sleep schedule, which is basically just one long sleep, which is what most people do. And you'll probably have a schedule that's based on that. And what's interesting is if you're going to do the monophasic sleep schedule, and I'll discuss different types of sleep schedules in this video, because it's gonna what I'm gonna say is just gonna blow your mind, right? Like how human beings have actually been sleeping wrong for 300 years or so. But basically, um, you know, monophasic, the best way to sleep in that, you want to try and sleep if you can between 9 to 10:30, like maximum. Okay? Try not to sleep later than that. And the reason why you want to sleep during this window, right? Because it's like your melatonin peaks around this time, right? Your HGS pulses within the first like 90 minutes of deep sleep, especially before midnight. And testosterone begins its nightly rise only when sleep begins early. And your cortisol drops to the lowest level, which basically triggers the body to, well, now I need to repair. I need to be in this repair mode. And this, like I said, this melatonin secretion does actually rise between, and again, I know it's going to be different in other people, but around 8 p.m. or so. And it peaks around, like I said, 9 to 10:30. Right? And the testosterone secretion and cellular repair begins immediately after you sleep on this time, especially in the first like 3 to 4 hours, let's say. So what happens when you miss this window? Basically, what happens is you get reduced testosterone, you get reduced muscle repair, you get reduced immune system activation, and reduced mental clarity. And in fact, there's studies showing that when you disrupt your circadian rhythm by sleeping super late, it increases the risk of cardiovascular disease, inflammation, and poor metabolic function. And they found that 70% of your HGH, human growth hormone, is secreted during the first stage of deep sleep, which is between 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. The earlier you sleep in sync with sunset, the better your memory is, your reaction time is going to be, especially in training, and your hormonal balance. All this, obviously, super important, not just for MMA, but life as a whole. Now, you may be asking, on this monophasic sleep schedule, 7.5 hours to 9 hours is the ideal, per night that you want to get. This is the ideal you want to get per night. And the reason is because you want to have these 90-minute sleep cycles. So you will have about 5 to 6 full sleep cycles. And each full sleep cycle is basically 90 minutes. And you want to have that's going to include light sleep, that's going to include deep sleep, and that's going to include REM sleep, and then it just repeats after that. And it's basically especially when you're overtrained, this is something you really need to keep in mind. And now you may be asking, obviously I told you the best time to sleep is from like 9:30 to 10:30. Or I mean 9 to 10:30. Like around that time you want to sleep. And now, what's the best scientific way to what's the best time to wake up? That's a good question. Again, wait, it's around 5 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. Why? Because this is when cortisol naturally begins to rise. Your which is basically the stress hormone, right? And testosterone remains elevated. Actually, funny enough, the testosterone levels are actually the highest in the morning. So if you get a testosterone test done, always get it done in the morning because it's at the highest. Never do it like later in the day because your testosterone levels actually do decrease naturally over time. Like throughout the day, I mean. And your brain is sharpest after full sleep cycles. And the morning sun exposure basically, it optimizes your circadian rhythm. And when you wake up at this time, like I said, it's give you way more energy. It's going to support, it's going to make you more disciplined, of course, right? And it matches natural sunrise, aligns with your cortisol rhythm, higher testosterone and dopamine levels in early morning. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, like we said, which is basically just going to give you a calm state. And enhance, of course, all of this is going to enhance your reaction time. It's going to give you more discipline. It's going to give you more clarity. It's going to give you more mood, a better mood. So what should you do? Why? This is why all those people that are disciplined wake up early in the morning, right? I mean, it makes sense. Even culture, even ancestral, this is the case. People waking up early in the morning is more discipline, right? And with your sleep schedule, like I said, well, basically what happens is that so basically what we said is waking up around 5 6:30 a.m. That's like probably the most ideal for you and for humans in general. Again, it can switch sometimes, right? Maybe you could be a little bit earlier, a little bit later, right? But the point is, you want to have that rough range of 5 to 6:30, right? Ideally, okay? And today, actually, funny enough, I had that today. I slept around today at, yeah, like around 10:30, and I woke up, funny enough, at 6:30. I actually did wake up a little bit earlier before that, but, I wanted to sleep in a little bit more, and I woke up at basically 6:30. So, I've been following this, and honestly, I feel like my body's been pretty good with it. Now, what we're going to discuss is, your sleep cycle, an overview of it. Like I said, 90-minute sleep cycles. So what happens is your body goes through something called light sleep, which is stage 1 and 2, right? Light sleep. Then it goes through something called deep sleep, stage 3. Then it goes through something called REM sleep. And REM basically just means rapid eye movement, right? So when you're sleeping, you have rapid eye movement, right? You go through about 4 to 6 of these cycles per night, depending on how long you might sleep. So why is each stage important? So what happens during the light sleep, stage 1 and 2, is basically the gateway between being awake and sleep, which lasts about like 1 to 10 minutes, let's say, right? And stage 2 is you're more relaxed, and your heart rate, your heartbeat, your breathing slows down. And the reason this matters, obviously, is it's your transition phase. Your body temperature drops. Your brain starts organizing thoughts for memories. It makes up about 50% of your total sleep, right? So this is basically a transition from like basically into a deeper sleep, right? And of course, during stage 3, deep sleep. And I've said this word so many times, deep sleep, right? And REM sleep. It's also called slow wave sleep, right? And what basically happens is it triggers your body to have a full body healing. This is when it kicks in. And your muscle repair happens, your HGH, human growth hormone, is released. Your brain detoxes the waste, right? Brain through its lymphatic system, of course, right? And the benefits, of course, of deep sleep is muscle growth, testosterone production, immune system resets, physical recovery. And it's actually very hard to wake you up because your brain kind of blocks out the noise. And obviously, it's going to give you a better immune system and it's going to strengthen your bones, right? More bone density. Of course, very important for MMA. And glucose metabolism, of course, again, important. And this happens around the first night of first half of the night, basically. So if you sleep, let's say, around the time that I prescribed, so it's going to happen around 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. This is like basically the prime time of deep sleep. And deep sleep basically boosts that growth hormone. Again, what studies have shown. And if you have poor deep sleep, they found in studies that it reduces testosterone and recovery. Right? Now, after deep sleep, what happens is REM sleep. And REM sleep, like I said, it just means rapid eye movement. And this is what happens is when you're dreaming, your dreams and your brain is in recovery mode. So your brain is actually super active during this time. And this is the time you're dreaming, you'll have, right? And your brain stores memories, emotional and mental healing. And obviously, like I said, your eyes are moving during this time, and dreams are happening. Your brain becomes more active, breathing and heart rate increases just slightly. And the benefits of this is that, believe it or not, especially from an MMA perspective, your reaction time is going to be a lot better. Your focus on learning is going to be a lot better, especially when you're in class, right? Learning techniques or whatever. Your fight IQ is going to go a lot higher, obviously, because of this, and your strategy is going to be a lot more efficient. Your mental sharpness is going to be a lot better. Your creativity, right, with your strikes and your grappling, so much better. You're going to have better cognitive recovery, creativity, like I said, emotional resilience, memory storage, right? You're going to be able to store more in your brain. And your reflexes are just going to be so much sharper, so much sharper. And when does REM sleep happen? REM sleep kind of happens more in the second half of the night. So around, let's say, 2 to 3 a.m. That's why sleeping longer usually equals to you being more smarter and more mentally focused. And and they've done studies on this where REM sleep basically helps you problem solve better and gives you better motor skills and motor learning, which obviously is very important for MMA because MMA is basically, as Joe Rogan has described it, high level problem solving with dire physical consequences. And that's basically what it is. And you need that. You need this REM sleep. It's important. Right? Not to mention motor learning, which is basically what MMA is, motor learning, all that. And they found that when you have lack of REM sleep, it actually reduces your reaction time. It gives you slower reaction time, and it actually leads you to making poorer decisions. Right? Isn't that crazy? So maybe when you had lack of sleep, maybe you've noticed this that you're maybe just doing moves like not efficiently, like you shot in for a takedown sloppy, and you got guillotined, right, or something like that, or you threw a punch which you normally would not throw, and you got clipped, right? Unfortunately, right? This is why it's important. And just to recap the sleep cycle, light sleep is about stage 1 and 2, deep sleep, stage 3. Then you might go back to light sleep again, and then you go to REM sleep. So, and then your body repeats this like multiple times throughout the night. And, it's obviously very important because deep sleep is better for testosterone. REM sleep is basically more for your brain repair. And combining it with the light sleep together, it leads to recovery, memory, strength, and immunity. And ideally, you want to wake up at the end of a sleep cycle, not in between the sleep cycle. So if you sleep, let's say, like 4.5 hours, you only get 3 cycles. That's not enough. If you're sleeping about 7.5 hours, that's about 5 full cycles. That's pretty good. Ideal. Actually, it's not ideal. It's decent. We'll say 9 hours, you get 6 cycles and maximum recovery. And Again, let's not be subhumans and be like, oh no, I just want to reach that 7.5. That's like, universe is good enough. No, do the full 9 hours. Do the full 9 hours, okay? If you are going to go through this monophasic sleep cycle. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it's going to boost everything. It's going to give you better flexibility and injury prevention, HGH, testosterone reaction time, mental focus, inflammation. It's going to reduce it. And of course, your MMA performance is going to increase your strength and everything, recovery. Now, what I basically talked about is the monophasic, how to do it through that. But one of the absurd thing is I told you is that literally everyone in the world is sleeping around today. Except for like maybe like some guys in the village. Right? They're probably the only ones sleeping right. Everyone else is sleeping wrong today. Doctors, all of them. And this is actually recorded throughout history. Our ancestors actually used to nap in between the day. They actually had sleeps in double increments, not just one long sleep at night. Right? That's what it is. And this form is there's actually three ways. So the modern 8 hour like or 9 hour monophasic sleep block. I mean, for the time being you can do it. Right. But again, it's not ideal. Ancestrally and even scientifically. It's not biologically superior. It's actually a construct, believe it or not, of the post-industrial society that we have today. And unfortunately, because of this was promoted during the Industrial Revolution. Monophasic is just basically this one long uninterrupted sleep period. Biphasic, like I guess there's three main ones. There's more than this. Those other ones, I didn't really find any benefit for them from an MMA perspective, because they're also like people just trying to be edgy cunts, basically. Oh, I just want to sleep for 20 minutes every hour. Dumb as hell. Dumb as hell, right? Point is, biphasic is the other one. So it's basically two separate sleep sessions in a 24-hour period. So basically, you have a nighttime and then you have a nap in the day. And polyphasic, which is actually something I mentioned earlier, is just, you have multiple sleep sessions throughout the day, right? You have about like three or more spread throughout the day and night. And we're gonna go over each one. We already went over monophasic sleep cycle, like earlier I stated, how to do that in the most efficient manner for those of you that choose it. And again, like I said, ideally you want to get to the point if you can to get to a biphasic sleep because that's the most like I'll just basically discuss why. So basically, monophasic sleep cycle. This was promoted during after the Industrial Revolution, and pros of this is basically just it's socially convenient, of course, right? Assuming you probably have work. And unfortunately, MMA gyms, like the schedules are probably centered around this, so it might be more convenient. It's easy to plan around. It's simple basically, unfortunately. But the cons are it doesn't match your ancestral biology. It can lead to midday fatigue, and I've experienced this. Like I would have like a full 8, 9 hours of sleep, and even after I got back from training, I still got so tired. And even if I didn't train, I'd probably still be tired, just not as much probably. So you do get the midday fatigue, and it's like you think, oh, it's because I didn't sleep last night, but I did sleep. I still got that fatigue. It's because it's again monophasic. It's not biologically aligned with what you're supposed to do. You miss the benefits of these midday rest cycles, which is why I started adding it. It forces your brain to go against your natural dips and alertness. Now, biphasic sleep is basically 2 sleep sessions per day, right through the 24-hour day. And what's actually interesting is, so it's like give or take, it's gonna be about 6 hours to 9 hours of sleep at night. Plus, give or take, it can be from 15 minutes to 90-minute nap in the afternoon. And what's actually interesting is you have a lot of, you know, society is actually practicing this. It was traditionally like first sleep and second sleep. Pre-industrial Europe actually practiced this up until like the 17th century. You also have these indigenous tribes that also have this, and then even Islamically, something called cryotherapy, which is basically just a midday like nap. And the pros of this is that it matches your natural circadian rhythm. It boosts memory and creativity. Again, this was confirmed by studies. It enhances muscle recovery and reaction time. It increases sleep quality by lowering your cortisol midday. The naps can improve human growth hormone release and testosterone. Right? Obviously, these amazing benefits. Now, the only cons really are is that it probably wouldn't align with modern society. Right? And your schedule probably is based off of that because we live like in society. So it won't fit in with that. That's probably one of the cons. It does require a bit more discipline because you don't want to be, messing up your naps and stuff. And it can throw off your patterns a little bit. That's about it. Right. But I would definitely say this is the most ideal one that you should try and achieve. And lastly, polyphasic sleep. I did mention this as well. So it's basically 3 or more sleep sessions per day. There's extreme versions like the Uberman, which is us taking 20-minute naps every 4 hours or so, right? Now, supposedly they say that people like Leonardo da Vinci, Tesla, Napoleon also use this. Now, again, it's hard to quantify how they use this because, again, they didn't per se have timers like how we have, modern day clocks and stuff like that. But basically, the pros of this is that it's more waking hours of schedule because they are tight. So and then it's really good for, like, let's just say your crisis, right, periods, right, where you're just in that intense training camp. I would probably use this honestly. Approach, especially the week right before the fight, just sleeping as much as I can, polyphasic, and it's gonna, boost your recovery from all that training that you had. I would try to utilize this, especially during a training camp, especially the last week of the training camp, right? And it's really good because it trains the brain to enter REM sleep and deep sleep faster. The only con is that it is kind of unsustainable long term, especially if you have a lot of things to do during the daytime. Like, obviously, it's going to be pretty hard to do this, but I would recommend doing this, especially at least once a week if you can, maybe during the weekend. It does disrupt your cycles, of course, right? And right, like I said, it can like that is pretty much it. It's just inconvenient. It's like the polyphasic is also just inconvenient by modern society's schedule. But if like let's say you get to a point in your life where you don't even have to work anymore, this is honestly like really good. Like, right now, the historical evidence that we're gonna go over biphasic sleep schedule and why you should do this, especially from an ancestral perspective, and how obviously it's beneficial for MMA. And it's the one that I would recommend. I have done this actually before. I just found it a little difficult to keep up. Or I'm probably gonna go back to doing this. I do actually do this occasionally. Where I'll go to like after training, I'll just go go to sleep, go to nap. So in pre-industrial societies, and even in Europe until the 17th century, it was common to sleep in 2 parts. So the first sleep was 2 to 3 hours after sunset, or I mean, not 2 to 3 hours, but it could be just a good amount of time, like 6 to 9 hours, right? Depending on the culture, right? You wake up around right early in the morning, or maybe like it's still like night out, and you have a wakeful rest period, and people would, and you were basically, you know, awake during this time. And this is all again recorded in human history. And even in other civilizations, like I said, in the Islamic civilization, a midday nap, something called the fatal law, was common and even recommended by the Prophet Muhammad. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Even the ancient Greeks and Romans practiced midday napping because, it would help, because of the heat and mental reset it would give them. And, even according to, you know, the theory of the hunter-gatherers, even they supposedly slept according to light patterns and physical exhaustion, often napping midday. And funny enough, most animals actually are biphasic, like lions, for example, have midday naps. And what's actually interesting is that humans have kind of forgotten this, so much so that even when scientists were studying, animals, they thought, oh, like humans are just monophasic, but really we're biphasic, right? And what I found personally, what helped me, right, is that you do your regular sleep at night, right? Right, whatever, 7 to 9 hours, right? And then after training, what I'll do is I'll take a nap. So I come back home from training after around 1 or 2 p.m., right? So for you it might be different. So the morning training I do, right? And then you take this nap, Qaidullah, right? What basically happens, after Zohar, right? And you do this for about from around 15 minutes to 90 minutes, right? That's how long you do it for. Right? It's not anything super long, right? And just get into the habit of trying to do this, right? And I personally felt that you know, I felt so much better. And then I would go and work out after this, or I would go to my second session in the day for the MMA training, especially if you're training multiple times a day. This Baylullah thing is so like you have to do this, right? You have to do it. You have to get into the habit of trying to be as biphasic as possible. And I understand, like some people might have work, so it's like I can't sleep during the day or whatever. I understand, right? But try your best, right? Try your best. And even scientific studies have shown that, like, that it has improved performance by actually 34% and alertness by 54%. Just insane. Imagine that. Midday naps, especially right before a competition or a fight or whatever you want to compete in, you're going to perform 34% better and you're having an alertness of 54%. And midday naps have actually been shown to improve learning and memory. So imagine you have your first day boarding session, you take a nap, you have your second day session. For the second day session, you're going to be a lot more alert and you'll be able to retain things a lot better than the guy who just stays up, just wasting time on his phone or whatever, and then waiting, to do the afternoon class. You're going to beat him over time. And power naps actually regulate your cortisol, your stress hormone, and it basically boosts testosterone in men. So, you may be asking, how should I perform this Qiyamullah with the midday nap? So, again, I know everyone's going to have a slightly different schedule. It's usually recommended from somewhere around 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can do it a little bit after if you want. And, it's not bad. Like, you can do it for about 15 minutes to 90 minutes or so, give or take, right? Just basically take a nap, right? You don't have to overthink it. It's just a nap, right? And like I said, try your best. You sleep on your right side in a quiet area, right? And avoid having a heavy meal before this, right? Although maybe from a protein synthesis, wouldn't be a bad idea, right? But so it's not the end of the world. Again, so out of these three, monophasic, biphasic, polyphasic, which is the best? You guys have probably figured my answer. Biphasic is pretty much the best. It's just aligned with how we used to do it. And unfortunately, because the world has become a lot more westernized, unfortunately, other countries have kind of given it up. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And you definitely need this, man. You need the biphasic sleep cycle. And this Kailola, it's a game changer. Like, I've been doing this myself. It's been a game changer. It's just, Like, just do it right after your MMA training session. I mean, of course, have your meal, right? And then maybe an hour after or so, take that nap, right? Let's say you're 100% just dedicated. Like, let's say the ideal MMA schedule, right? You train in the morning, you come home, or right, you come home, you eat. After about an hour or so, or two, right, you do your protein synthesis, and then you take your nap, and then you go for your afternoon class. So you train twice a day or 3 times a day, or whatever it is, right? Point is, obviously, you can pair it up based off of how your schedule is. Your schedule might be slightly different, right? Maybe you have a work or whatever. Try your best. Try your best. That's all I'm asking you. Because sleep is really important, man. Now, like I said, I'm gonna give you guys the whole saw. What are some things you can avoid, right? To because I had this problem as well, where I would just wake up in the middle of the night for no reason, or just no reason, right? And probably a lot of you have this, right? A form of like insomnia, if you want to call it that, right? I don't know if I want to call it what I had. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. So basically, what you want to do is don't eat right before you sleep, especially like for your night sleep, right? At least 2 hours before you sleep. Me personally, I usually stop eating after 7 to 8. Like I've never ate, especially now. I don't eat anything past 8. What I'll do is I'll drink something that helps me sleep, and I'll discuss that as we go on. But the best thing you can do is go to bed and wake up at the same exact time, even on the weekends, every single day. Try your best. Like I said, 9:30, 10:30. If you're gonna go through the monophasic, 9:30 to 10:30, right? You sleep around that time. It's more about consistent. Consistency is the most important thing when it comes to sleep because this locks in your circadian rhythm and it gets your body used to releasing melatonin and that HGH properly. And what you want to do is avoid things that are gonna disrupt your sleep. So no blue light. So basically, don't use your phone, don't use your laptop, don't use any technology an hour or two before your sleep. If you have to use a worst case scenario, you wanna see my phone? It's black and white. Why? Because then it doesn't release that blue light. Try and if you can, try to get some anti-blue light glasses. These are my anti-blue light glasses, basically, right? That help basically reduce any blue light. And another thing is keep your room pitch black. Pitch black. Invest in some curtains, some dark curtains, right? And if you have to, you can buy like the cloth thing over your eyes. Just make sure it's a natural product, like a natural. It's made from natural material, like cotton or something or linen. Try to reduce cortisol before bed, obviously, right? What you want to do is avoid doom scrolling, avoid any like super intense training, avoid argumentations, right? Avoid anything that's gonna, basically keep you awake. So you can do some breath work, right? Another thing I like to do is I like to drink tea, chamomile tea mixed with uh magnesium powder, and I'll take some shilajit as well. And ashwagandha actually does help you sleep at night. This is why they say that don't take ashwagandha during the midday because it's probably going to make you more sleepy. Take it during the nighttime. And there's also lemon balm that's also helps as well, right? And I've been falling asleep a lot better because of this. Control your blood sugar. So, what usually can happen is that waking up at night often, it basically means that your blood sugar probably is causing a crash. So, if you're eating, like, let's say, I mean, you can technically eat like a small protein or fat, like snack. Just make sure it's obviously healthy, like raw milk, beef liver, or raw kefir, or some eggs or whatever. Avoid like being too full and avoid being too like fasted, if you get what I mean. Like don't I wouldn't necessarily consider what I do a fast. Some people would, like after not eating after 7. So basically, don't be don't have too much of an empty stomach, and don't be too full right before you sleep. Another thing is, if you have a fan in your room, use a fan, right? Make your room temperature, keep it at a cool temperature, right? Around, like 67 Fahrenheit or so, right? 68, yeah, something around that, which I believe is around 15 to 19 Celsius for my foreign people, right? And for your bedding material, again, I'm gonna give you guys the whole sauce. Like I said, use natural bedding material. Don't use polyester. Don't use synthetic shit. That actually builds up static shock in your body, and that's what's probably messing you up with your sleep. That's probably what's causing that restless leg syndrome as well. Use natural material like linen, like cotton, like wool. Use these natural materials. The best is obviously linen, right? But if you don't like, if you can't get linen, get cotton. Right? That is just as good, and it's a lot cheaper. But linen, man, invest in some, and keep your devices away from your head. No phones under the pillow. I mean, that's obviously a given. If you keep your phone under your pillow, man, that is just giving you like that's just killing your brain cells, right? And it's gonna give you a weaker chin over time, right? So keep your phone in a completely different room. Turn it, right? Put it on airplane mode, right? Put it on airplane mode, bro. And turn off the Bluetooth, turn off everything. And there's technically something you can buy that like reduces the lithium as well, exposure as well. I have all of this in my Patreon below. I join my Patreon. I have like links of everything where you can get. And I'm not sponsored by any of these, right? And I go into even more detail. If you think this is detailed, I go even into more detail. Right? If you think the free stuff is detailed, this is gonna be it's even more detailed, right? Point is, right? Have your phone outside of your room. Have technology outside of your room, basically. Like the room that you sleep in, keep it outside there. And another thing that you can do is drink most of your water earlier in the day. You don't want to drink too much water because sometimes you'll wake up and your body's like, "Oh, I need to pee, I need to urinate." So don't. Right, the best thing you can do is you can drink mineral water right before you sleep, right? And of course, make sure it's reverse osmosis mineral water, like I said. And now, like I talked about, stuff that you should avoid doing, obviously do that. But I'm gonna give you some sleeping tips. These sleeping tips are gonna help you sleep faster. They're gonna help you sleep faster and better. And like I said, keep your phone outside of your room. Turn on your airplane mode, right? And if you can buy the lithium, like encasing thing that is blocks out the lithium seeping in. Another thing, like I said, sleep on linen sheets. Cotton is like the second best, right? Second thing is, if you're able to, sleeping on the ground, low key is the best, right? Because again, you're grounding, right? That's one. And two, it's more natural. It's how people have been sleeping actually. Or you can use uh, a mattress made out of something natural, natural material like a wool or cotton, or I believe they have like futon, like those are usually made out of natural stuff as well. Turn off Bluetooth, turn off your Wi-Fi, turn off your Bluetooth, turn off your Wi-Fi, turn off 4G, 5G, all that. Turn off any EMF stuff in your house, right? Another thing that you might have noticed is that I'm wearing copper, right? Do this especially when you sleep, right? Especially when you sleep. This actually blocks out EMF. So even maybe, if you're living in townhouses or whatever, right, this will block off EMF. Another thing that helps is something like red light therapy, right? Right. I don't know if you guys can see the red light, right? This is just a bulb, but you can get like a full scale like one as well. Again, I'm gonna have all this in my Patreon, right? So join the Patreon below. It's very affordable, right? Or you could just get just the folder that has the biohacking for MMA. That also, but Patreon is super affordable, right? And it's super detailed. a lot of work into this, right? Like red light, black light, supposedly. Again, I have to do more research on that, right? But point is, get rid of the LED lights as well in your room. LED lights, unfortunately, they do keep you awake more, right? And it makes your body more stressed, releasing cortisol. Another thing you can do in the morning, sunlight, gazing and spending time in the sun, being shirtless. Actually, funny enough, that's what I just did right before recording this. I spent time in the sun, right? And grounding during the day, right? This will help reset your circadian rhythm, especially if like you just had a bad like circadian rhythm, right? Because you haven't been sleeping well. And lastly, or I mean not lastly, bro, sleep in complete darkness, bro. Sleep in complete darkness, right? Like that's like the most important. And now, in conclusion, all in all, I know I gave you guys a lot of stuff, a lot of sauce, man, a lot of sauce. Right? Join my Patreon, and you'll get even more stuff, bro, even more stuff, right? And and you'll get so much more sauce, and you won't have to spend the decades of research that I had to go through, right? Like right before, right? And like I said, man, I know I gave you guys a lot, and I don't want you guys to feel overwhelmed by anything. Basically, you don't have to follow, like I said in the beginning, you don't have to follow every little thing I mentioned. Right? The most important, I would say, is to just be consistent with your sleep schedule at the same consistent time. Try your best to eliminate the things that ruin your sleep. Like I said, EMF, lights, blue lights, phones, etc. Then you add in the things that help you sleep better, like the chamomile tea, like the linen sheets, linen clothes, all that, right? Right, and the magnesium, right? So over time, you want to start adding things in that help you sleep better one by one, right? And again, like I said, if you think that the free stuff is good, hey man, if you join the program, right, you basically get everything. You get even more stuff in even more detail, right? If you want even more help and even more, man, and with every little biohacker that you can get, you can join the Patreon and my new program, BioHacking for MMA, right? Join it. It's the best thing that I've created out there, right? And I put so much effort into it, right? But again, you want to stay updated, right? Subscribe to this channel. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, right? So that you can start maximizing things for MMA. And all in all, you know, sleep is honestly so important that you guys really need to dial in on it. Dial in on your sleep. Like I said, sleep is super. Dial in on your sleep. All right. But I'm gonna keep the series going, right? Like and subscribe. Turn on that post notification so that you're constantly updated whenever I have a new video, right? I gave you so much, guys, so much sauce. Join the Patreon, bro. Join the Patreon. Super affordable. Or you can just get just the biohacking program, which is just as good enough, right? But if you want the Patreon plus like other stuff, where all this valuable information, every month I keep updating it. And not even every month, almost like every day, if I'm being honest. I keep updating it, and so much new stuff, every little thing, right? And you guys can even request stuff, or you guys can request articles and stuff like that, and videos and stuff like that on there, right? And I have polls and stuff like that. So give it a join, right? Subscribe to this channel. And until next time, man. Peace.